Newsroom Africa, you need to come here.
And I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party. Pink felt like I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I pull in a 10. Like Daddy, all of the Barbies is pretty. Damn, all of the Barbies is bad.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Nogwazi Ndombela, also known as Kwazi Bear on all social media platforms. Do subscribe, be a part of this family, and if you're a returning subby, welcome back, darling. Now guys, I appreciate the love and support on my previous video. Keep on liking, keep on commenting and engaging so that my videos can reach a wider audience. So let us get right into the proceedings. Firstly, I know that I said I'd only see you guys on Friday, but due to unforeseen circumstances, I am here. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I am here. So basically, guys, I am here, reason being, there's been an adjournment until Thursday because Judge Rata is ready to make his ruling with regards to the trial within a trial. But before we get into that, let us just touch on what took place today in court. Today is Monday, the 11th of March, and Ramusipili then started with his arguments. And I'm just going to touch on some of the points that I feel are important with regards to his arguments. Firstly, he spoke about the arresting officers of accused number one, basically disputing the evidence of Mohola and Buthelezi that there were only 3 officers when Umuzi Sibiya was arrested, because Muzi's evidence is that there were a lot more officers involved, and he goes on to mention that 8 that were in uniform and 5 that were in civilian clothes, and amongst those people were the EMPD officers, so there were a lot more officers that were involved in his arrest. He touched on the issue of the handcuffs. So it is evidence before the court that accused number one was injured on his wrist by the handcuffs. So Ramusipili touched on the issue that there was blood on his arms, the wrists were swollen, and the fact that Umboto, when he came to testify, he sort of downplayed the severity of the injuries on Sibiya by saying it was just spots of blood, when that was not the case. And he goes on to say Baloyi even went as far as saying that those were imprints, even made an example of a watch, like if you wear a watch then you get imprints on your arm. Ramusipili then says, I'm wondering what types of watches are being worn that could cause such severe damage onto your wrists. So that was a very important point that he raised there. And he says that he doesn't have to be accused number one to imagine the pain that he went through being lifted by his handcuffs as per his evidence. And then he does also basically clarify the issue that the judge raised last week, saying that accused number one was assaulted by 13 people, and that was not what accused number one said. He did say that there were 13 officers that he saw, however not all of them contributed to the assault. So Ramusipili did well in clarifying that point. He spoke about the J88 with regards to the injuries on the accused, that if he had injuries, there's a process that should have been followed with regards to laying a complaint and actually going to a doctor to have those checked, but that wasn't done. He also touched on the point that Kininda was not meant to be involved in arranging the people to take the confessions, as he was the investigating officers, because we don't know what conversations took place when he actually called those people. So it should have been his superior that actually arranged those confessions on his behalf. So that's another important point. And then obviously he touched on the issue of the J50 warrant of arrest, but he didn't go as far as like saying how unlawful it was. He just basically touched on the fact that it's very convenient that the J50 was executed on a Saturday, and considering that it wasn't like an urgent J50 that was issued, they can't say or they can't give the reason as to why the J50 wasn't executed and the accused wasn't taken straight to Tembisa police station to keep him there until he goes to court. But however, they were gallivanting Fosloras and where with the accused having executed the J50. That was another very important point. And then the judge goes to say that no, the accused were sought by intelligence, basically investigations, and they were looking for them. Ramusipillis then says, no, no, no. Accused number one was sought on a J50. So that argument of the intelligence and whatnot does not apply to accused number one. Another issue that the judge sort of hinted to was the fact that Ramusipilli was fired by accused number one. However, he is arguing on behalf of accused number one. That was an issue that Ramusipilli says, I am not fireable, basically. And then we then spoke about Ntanzi's assault, which is accused number two. Ramusipilli then says, Ntanzi's assault started as early as the day that he was arrested, when Mabena hit him with an open hand when he requested to see their appointment certificates or appointment cards. And the judge then says, no, but Mabena died after that. And then Ramusipilli is like, no, but regardless of the fact that he died when? Didn't he die after all these incidents happened? He died well after everything happened. He was part of the people that assaulted him, and the assault started on the very day that he was arrested, which was very interesting. We touched on the issue of the engine garage yet again, and Ramusipilli raised this point that if Ntanzi was such a high-profile criminal that required escort services for him to be transported, why is it that the police didn't deem it necessary for when their car broke down, as per their evidence after AVL, to arrange for him to be put at a nearby police station whilst they get the car fixed? Or even better, get one of the cars from the EMPD officers, either Jonathan or Buthelezi, to drive this person to the police station as this car was being fixed. But they took it upon themselves to sit for about 6 hours with the accused at a garage, claiming to have a broken car. And this is a very high-profile criminal, and you're just chilling at the garage with him whilst you get your car fixed. Make it make sense. And Ramusipilli then just says, what are the probabilities of this being true? The judge's response to that is, I don't play lotto. Judge Rata? Anyway, and then the most important thing that Ramusipilli talked about in his arguments is the sleep deprivation of Ntanzi on the day. And he goes as far as saying there are quotes from the national instruction, which basically points out that in a period of 24 hours, if there are investigations or if there is questioning that's happening with the witness, they need to have at least 8 hours of rest in between the interrogations or the investigations. So that was a very, 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 very important point that he touched on before he says he was done with his argument. Advocate Mnisi, the defense for accused number 3, is back in court, and when he's asked about his presentation of the arguments, he just says he hasn't been present to listen to the arguments, but he has had the opportunity to read the arguments, and he's happy with the oral presentation of the defense. And also he just pointed out a reminder, which was a hint, nudge, nudge to the judge to say, regardless of the fact that the defense didn't mention the grounds of the objection to the admissibility of the confessions in the beginning, it does not mean that they cannot infuse every point that has been sort of raised during the examination in chief and cross-examination of the witnesses. So some points are only raised or only become relevant once cross-examination comes through. So the fact that they didn't put those grounds at the beginning of the trial does not mean they cannot be infused into the whole argument basically of the defense. And that was Mnisi's speech for the day. Ngumalo had nothing to say, as always, which is defense counsel for accused number 4. And Mshololo basically says she's happy with the heads that have been submitted, and the heads that she submitted as well, she's happy and has nothing to change with those heads. And Baloyi was then asked if he has anything to add or anything to say at the end, and he had quite a few things to say which were a bit repetitive, and some of the things he was trying to point out a case that Mngomezulu had basically quoted in his arguments to say no, quoting this case is not very helpful because it was a judgment that was made by one judge and but my thing is that Baloyi really failed to argue his case, and it seemed as though now that the defense has argued their case and made such strong points, now Baloyi has so much to say all of a sudden. But that's just my opinion. So we have come to the conclusion of the trial within a trial. We've come to the conclusion of the arguments, and the judge basically needs to make his judgment. He has said that he will have his, he said it's not a judgment, it's a ruling. Let me correct myself. So he says that he will have the ruling by Thursday, which is the, what's the date on Thursday? 11, 12, 13, 14, the 14th of March. So we will have a break for 3 days before we can hear his ruling with regards to the admissibility of the confessions. But before we get to that, or before I close off this video, there are two very important things that I just want to point out that I have observed with regards to this case. The first one being news channels, and I will speak specifically about Newsroom Africa. Newsroom Africa, you need to come here, because your role as news channels is to, one, give information which is true and accurate to the public. And you are meant to be impartial, but I refuse to see where Newsroom Africa is impartial. And my chat with this is that they seem to have a narrative that they are pushing. And a person who is not following the case and just relies on their information will not know right from wrong, or will not know what is impartial or what is proper when it comes to the information of this trial. But we, as the people that actually follow this case, can see that you are impartial. We can see that you are not doing justice in your reporting with regards to this case. That's just my opinion. And then the next thing is that Judge Rata, oh my gosh, we need to address Judge Rata. We need to address him real quick, because Judge Rata has shown on numerous occasions how much of a menace he really is, right? He is so disruptive when it comes to the defense. He's very disruptive. He's shown on numerous occasions how biased he can be. When Baloyi is leading his evidence, or when Baloyi was giving his arguments, there were minimal to none disruptions, right? But as soon as the defense started leading their arguments, child, I tell you, the judge was disturbing every 1 second, or every sentence the defense started, he was interrupting. Everything they try to say, he was interrupted. And the worst thing about the judge is that he says he listens, but he messes up the evidence so badly, to a point where he starts just saying things that were never said in the case. He starts leading evidence that was never led. He starts misquoting things about the evidence that was led, and that is very disturbing, very, very disturbing. And it is very clear to see for a person who has been following this case from the get-go, and it's not a good sight. It's not a good sight. So I'm very excited to see, or to hear, what the ruling will be with regards to these confessions. But in all honesty, considering the facts, and I say facts because I've been hearing a lot of people using the word facts very loosely on the socials. And the facts at this current point are that The rights of the accused were violated. And with the onus of proving that no assault took place, I don't feel that the state has proven without reasonable doubt. That is just my opinion. So if these confessions are used, I will be shocked, personally. Anyway, that is my input with regards to this trial within a trial, with regards to this case. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, like button down below, and I will see you guys on Friday when we hear what the ruling of Judge Rata is. Bye.